Uh, hey, Ivan. Hope you're doing well today. Thank you
Right.
for joining the summit. This is going to be a question and answer format. Let's start. First question could you talk about the networking disconnect and what is the solution to it?
Yeah, happy to do that. So a number of years ago, I was in London. I was speaking to a group of maybe 900 people. It was an all-day event. There was a lot of networking. I was the keynote speaker. I don't know why, but for some reason, it just hit me to ask the following question. I asked the 900 people there, how many of you are here today hoping to, maybe just possibly sell something? Jason, 900 people said, yes. They all raised their hands. I said, raise your hand if you're hoping to sell something. Everybody raised their hand. I said, great. How many of you are here hoping to, maybe just possibly buy something? No one raised their hand. Not one single person. This is what I call the networking disconnect. People show up at networking events wanting to sell, but nobody's there to buy. And so why go to a networking event? Well, I hope to be able to explain that here today to all of the viewers as to why you want to go to networking. Because believe it or not, you're not going to networking events, at least you shouldn't be, to just sell to people. That's a very transactional process. And networking is really about building relationships with people. And you'll hear me talk about that over and over in today's discussion.
Okay, awesome. So, why do you need both a mindset and a skill set for networking?
So most people who talk about networking just talk about the skill set. They say, okay, you want to network effectively, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I talk about skill set as well, but you got to start with mindset, because if you don't have the right mindset, the skill set that you apply is irrelevant. It's not going to work. And it's got to be a mindset based on building relationships with people. And so the foundation of everything I teach is based on a concept called the VCP process. VCP. It stands for visibility, credibility, profitability. First, you have to be visible in the community. People need to know who you are and what you do. Then you have to go to credibility, where people know who you are, they know what you do, they know you're good at it. That's the credibility phase. And that takes the longest. Moving from visibility to credibility takes the longest. Then you move from credibility to profitability. And profitability is where people know who you are, they know what you do, they know you're good at it, and they're willing to give you referrals on an ongoing reciprocal basis. Now, this is not a sales process, this is a referral process. So a lot of people may think, well, I'm at profitability already with a lot of people. But this is a referral process. So the real question is, are most of your, let's say clients, are most of your clients giving you referrals? If not, you're not even at profitability with your clients in terms of the referral process, the VCP referral process. So when I said, when you go to networking events, a lot of people talk about the skill set, but they don't talk about the mindset. Here's the thing with the mindset is that when you go to a networking event and you meet somebody, you need to figure out, where are you in that process? Are you at visibility? Do they know who you are? Are you at credibility? Do they know who you are and they know you're good at it? Or are you at profitability? Is this somebody that you're doing business with regularly or getting referrals from regularly? The fourth phase that I haven't really talked about comes before visibility. It's called invisibility. People don't know who you are. They don't know what you do. So many times, Jason, I've met people and they try to jump over visibility, jump over credibility, and get right to profitability. I don't even know who they are. They'll go, hi, Ivan, my name is so-and-so. Let's do business. Or here's 3 copies of my business card. Maybe you can refer me to somebody. I'm like, I'm sorry, what was your name again? I don't even know your name. In one of my books, we called this premature solicitation, which you don't want to say fast 3 times. It'll get you in trouble. But this is part of the mindset, is that you have to have the right mindset. So when you go to networking events, you're looking at people and say, okay, this person I've never met before. I'm not even at visibility. Let me get to know them a little bit so I can at least be at visibility. then the people that you have visibility with, you have a different discussion. Hey, it's good to see you again. How was, and then you talk about maybe some previous conversation you had with them. People you're at credibility with is a deeper conversation than the people that you're at profitability with. Really deep conversation. VCP, it's the foundation of the mindset concept. Skill set, that was your second part of the question. And skill set is where most networking experts live. They talk about skill set. And I think it's important to also talk about skill set. So let's talk about two techniques, just two. I mean, I could spend hours just talking about skill set, but we're going to talk about two right now. The first is what I call open stances, open or closed stances. So imagine a room and you sort of have the God view, you're able to look down on the room. Two people standing perpendicular to each other, having a conversation. That's what I call a closed two. They're two people talking to each other and it's hard to break into that. Three people talking to each other is almost like a triangle. You got three people who are in a conversation and you can't break into that very easily. Four would be like a box, four people standing together, having a conversation. So one of the things I recommend is that when you go to a networking event, scope out the room and look for open twos, open threes, and open groups. An open two, rather than standing perpendicular like this, would be standing askew, almost like a V. And makes it very easy for a third person to just walk in and strike up a conversation, especially if you're at visibility with somebody or credibility. They're going to walk in and start the conversation with you. So look for open twos. Look for open threes. An open three would be like a U, where there's a spot where you could just walk in and start a conversation. Or look for an open group. It's a huddle of people, but there's an open spot and you can slip right in there. Actually, those open groups are even easier for the introverts of the world because you can kind of slip in unnoticed. And as people are going around introducing themselves, you can have a chance to introduce yourself as well. Now, this is important, especially if you are in a networking group. You want to teach your fellow members, whether it's a chamber of commerce organization or a group like BNI. I'm the founder of an organization called BNI. We have 9,500 groups all around the world. And there we teach our members to teach the group to always stand in open stances so the visitors feel welcome, so that it is a welcoming place rather than a place where you feel like an outsider. It's inclusive rather than a sense of exclusive. You can't join my little huddle here having a conversation. So that's one skill set, open groups versus closed groups. I've written a lot about this. You can find it in articles I've written for entrepreneur.com, and on my blog, ivanmisner.com, you can find the graphs and everything. Here's another one, and I love this one, and this is what I call it the 24/7/30 follow-up system. The 24/7/30 follow-up system. So people often ask me, what's a good follow-up technique? How do you follow up with people that you meet? And the truth is, the best follow-up system is the one you're going to use. And I'm going to give you one that you can use if you like it. But one that you use consistently, that's the key. Here's one that you should consider. 24/7/30. Within 24 hours of meeting someone for the first time, you've never met them before, you meet them. Within 24 hours, send them a note. It could be an email. Frankly, I think one of the best ways to reach out to people these days is a handwritten note. Now, I'm horrible at handwritten notes. I mean, I'm really bad at it. So if you're bad at it like me, use a company like Send-Out Cards. I'm a client. I don't sell Send-Out Cards, but I recommend them. They're a great little tool where you can type in your message into a card and it gets mailed through the postal service. And somebody actually gets a card. And all you need to say in the email or the card or the note that you send is, it was really great meeting you the other day at the BNI meeting or at the chamber or at Rotary. I enjoyed our conversation. I hope our paths cross again. That's all you have to say. Then, and whatever you do, don't sell to them. Don't say, oh, and don't forget, I provide whatever kinds of products and services. Don't sell to them. It's too early. There's this old saying, Jason, it never hurts to ask. You've heard that expression, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I hear it a lot. Never hurts to ask, right? Wrong. Totally wrong, dead wrong, completely wrong. Sometimes it does, in fact, hurt to ask. It hurts to ask for business when that person doesn't know you. You're asking too early, asking for referrals before somebody knows you. Don't do it. Build a relationship before you ask for a referral. That's really, really important. So within 24 hours, reach out, touch somebody, connect with them, say, hey, it was great meeting you. Within 7 days, connect with them on social media. Now, here's something really important. It doesn't matter what social media you like. If you want to build a relationship, now, if you don't want to build a relationship, then who cares? But if you want to build a relationship with somebody, go to the social media platform they like, not the social media platform you like. You're communicating with them in a way they like as opposed to the way you like. Now, I'll tell you how I came to this conclusion. I actually came to this conclusion with my children, with my kids. Now, the oldest is now 33, the youngest is 26, but when they were teenagers, my eldest, when she was like 17 years old, Jason, I would call her and nothing. She wouldn't reply. But if I texted her, she'd reply immediately. She'd say, hey, what's up, Dad? I'm like, hey, I just called you, right? She's like, yeah. Why didn't you answer? I don't know. Okay, this device is actually, you can hear here and you can speak here. And she's like, yeah, I know, Dad, I know. But she wouldn't answer a phone call, but she would text immediately. So I learned if I wanted to communicate with her, I texted her. Now, my second child, she, I would call her, nothing. I would text her, nothing. So I went to my wife and I was like, what do I do? Dorian won't respond to my phone calls or my texts. She said, oh, now you have to remember, she's 28. So she was probably 17, 18 when this happened. So it was more than 10 years ago. It was around 10 years ago. And she said, well, you have to WhatsApp her. I said, WhatsApp? What's that? I didn't even know what it was. She said, well, it's a platform you communicate. I'm like, okay. So I downloaded WhatsApp. So I even tested it with her. Call her, nothing. Texted her, nothing. WhatsApped her, boom, she'd respond immediately. Like, okay, she's WhatsApp. Then came my son. Now, he was a gamer. He loved games. And I would call him, text him. He didn't like WhatsApp. And I knew he played games. And I knew he liked one platform in particular, Steam, which is an online platform. And I knew they had an instant messaging feature. So I was in my 50s at the time. I downloaded Steam and I bought a game that I knew he liked so that I could be online, see him online, send him an instant message, and he would respond immediately. So here's the networking lesson. I learned that if I wanted to communicate with my children as they were, becoming adults, I needed to communicate with them in a way they wanted, not the way I wanted. I would have just picked up the phone and called them. And my eldest in particular now, she's totally good with phone calls, but if you want to maintain that relationship, that's what I had to do. And I did it. So if you want to create or maintain a relationship with someone in your personal network, go where they are, not where you are. Now, how do you know where they are? Well, one of the things you want to do is ask them when you meet them, is say, I'm real active on Facebook and LinkedIn. Where are you most active? And make a note of that. When you get their card, write that down. That's where they are. And then go connect with them on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm on all of them. You can find me on all of them. Probably have my biggest following on Facebook. So look for my public page on Facebook. You can't get on my private, it's full. But Ivan Misner, Facebook /IvanMisner.BNI founder, and you can follow me there. So I find out where they are and go and then look at some of their posts and comment. Comment. Tell them you agree, you disagree, that you like this. This is, share it, interact with them, and don't sell to them. Don't sell to them. Not yet. You don't have a relationship. Don't sell to them. So within 7 days, connect with them on social media, interact with them there. Okay, 24/7, 30. Within 30 days, reach out to them and set up an appointment to talk, to meet, to do a one-to-one. Now, if you live in the same area, do it face-to-face. Nothing's more powerful than a face-to-face conversation. If you don't live in the same area, hey, then, Skype, Zoom, GoToMeeting, some other way of communicating with them, that's great. If you can't do it face-to-face. But sit down and do a one-to-one with them and spend half the time going into detail about what they do. Tell me about what you do. What's your target market? What's your focus? Tell me about your clients that you have. What's an ideal client? What's a good referral for you? Ask questions. Get them to open up. And then make sure to have enough time for you to talk about your business. And don't sell to them. Don't sell to them. It's like, it's a sales spasm. People just can't stop themselves. They're talking to somebody and they're, well, let me tell you about my product or service so you can buy it. And don't do that. You have to build the relationship. Build the relationship, and then you'll be able to ask for referrals or ask for business from them. That is so important. 24 hours, connect with them. Say, hey, it was great meeting you. 7 days, connect with them on social media. And within 30 days, try and do a one-to-one with them. That is a second technique for the skill set. So we've talked about mindset, VCP, and we talked about 2 techniques for skill set, open twos versus closed twos, and the 24/7 30 follow-up system. There you go, Jason.
Well, these are awesome insights, but why don't we teach this in colleges and universities?
Yeah, so this is an interesting topic. Let me start by saying I was a university professor for 16 years, so I understand the university process. I was also on the board of trustees for a private university for almost 8 years. So I've seen it from both levels, from teaching to being the board, where the president reported to the board. So I've seen everything kind of in between that. One of the things I discovered early on when I was asked by a president of a different university to talk to the dean of that university about what we should teach in colleges and universities that they're not teaching, he asked if I would talk to the business dean about it. And I said, I'd be glad to. So we had lunch, and the president laid up the question. And I said to the dean, well, I think we need to, in universities, we need to be teaching more social capital, emotional intelligence, business networking. And Jason, the dean didn't even blink and said, oh yeah, we'll never teach that here at this university. I was like, wow, why? He said, because networking is a soft science and we don't teach soft science. I said, really? He said, yeah. Now I had looked at their catalog. I knew what they taught. I said, well, I know you teach leadership because I've seen the courses. And I don't know if you know this, but I studied under Warren Bennis at the University of Southern California. I told him. Now, Dr. Bennis, in his day, was the world's leading expert on leadership. Today, that mantle is held by John Maxwell. But in his day, back in the 80s, early 90s, Warren Bennis was the world's leading expert on leadership. And I said to the dean, I studied under Warren at USC, and he once told me that leadership is a soft skill. It's a soft science. But that it's important to teach. So you do teach soft sciences, you just choose not to teach networking. And he said, okay, fair enough. We don't want to teach networking. So I have a reason, I have an answer as to why I think most universities don't teach networking. Leadership that's bright and shiny and exciting. Networking is too close to sales for them. Even though I say don't sell, it's too close to sales for most professors. And so my theory, and Jason, I hope you don't have too many full-time tenured professors listening to your webinar series, because they'll hate this answer. I know, I've had the reaction. Most university professors, full-time tenured professors, not the adjuncts like I was, the part-time, but the full-time tenured professors, most of them have never had a real job in their life. They've never run a business. Oh, they can teach it, but they've never run it. And so I think we don't teach it in universities because most university professors, heaven forbid that you should get your hands dirty and make a sale. I mean, think about it. How many universities teach core curriculum university courses on closing techniques, on sales techniques? Almost none. So what happens is people get a degree in marketing, they get out into the real world, and the company says, okay, we're going to send you to a Brian Tracy sales seminar because you don't know how to sell. Or we're going to send you to Jeffrey Gitomer program because you don't know how to sell. And so we don't teach sales at universities. And that's why I don't think we teach networking. And we won't anytime soon. It's one of the reasons why I founded BNI 35 years ago, was to help teach people how to network, because they're not going to learn it in most universities. And that's the reason why, Jason.
Okay. Could you talk about the butterfly effect of networking?
Yeah, so the butterfly effect of networking is an interesting concept that I came up with back in about 2008. And I wrote about it. You can find it on my blog. If you go to ivanmisner.com and go all the way back to 2008, you'll see an article that I wrote. And at that time, my blog was up at entrepreneur.com. And I found myself one week on Necker Island in the Caribbean, beautiful island. And I was in the great room of Necker Island, and it had like a 300-degree view of the Caribbean. It was gorgeous. And unfortunately, I had to write an article that day. It was due that day for my blog, which was then at Entrepreneur. And I had to write this blog article. And I'm sitting there, I'm stuck. And Jason, I don't know if you write much, but I've written 24 books. I write a lot. And sometimes, I'm just stuck. I got nothing. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to write about. So I'm sitting there and I'm completely stuck. And while I'm thinking, up walks Sir Richard Branson of Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Airlines, Virgin Cruise Lines, Virgin Galactic, Virgin everything. He walks up and he goes, he stops. He says, so what are you doing? I said, well, I have a deadline for an article and it's got to go up today. And so I got to do it. He said, oh, I understand deadlines. He said, but look, when you're done, come on down. We're all by the pool and right there at the beach, and we're having a blast. Come on down and join us. And just in case I don't see you, make sure and sit next to me at dinner and tell me more about this BNI thing that you've started. It sounds really interesting. And he left. Jason, I sat there and I thought, dang, how did I get here? How did I get here to this moment in time right now where I'm at, where a billionaire would come on up to me and say, hey, what are you doing? Come on out and play. Let's have fun. If I don't see us, sit next to me in the lunchroom. Let's talk. What would bring me to that island? You see, Necker Island is Richard Branson's private island. And I then sat down and that became my article that day. What I did was I wrote about a concept that's known as the butterfly effect. And I applied it to networking. Now, the butterfly effect is part of the field of mathematics. And it's part of chaos theory in mathematics, where the flapping of the wings of a butterfly change some minute thing in the environment, which changes something else, which changes something else, which changes something else, which changes something else, which changes the weather. That's the concept of the butterfly effect. And I realized that networking has a butterfly effect. That one little thing somewhere can lead to something that leads to something that leads to something. And so what I did that day was I reverse engineered how I got to Necker Island. Who was it that invited me to Branson's private island? And how did I meet that person? And how did I meet that person that invited me to that island? And how did I meet the person before that? And how did I meet the person before that? And Jason, it turned out to be a 2.5-year journey where the first person did the first little nudge. And the first nudge was actually a BNI member who asked me for a favor. A favor. just ask for a favor. It was in my wheelhouse, and I said yes. And when I did that, as a result of that, I got asked to do a keynote speech somewhere. And I did a keynote speech somewhere, and in doing this keynote speech, I met Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield, who wrote the book, co-wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. He's the author of Success Principles. He just came out with a workbook for Success Principles, sold, hundreds of millions of copies of books. And I met Jack and made a connection with him. And as a result of that, he invited me to the Transformational Leadership Council. Now, that whole process there took a year. And I was invited to the Transformational Leadership Council, where I met many, many really great business people, some of which I've done projects with together. And one of those people introduced me to somebody who introduced me to someone who invited me to Necker Island for a seminar that they were doing that week. That whole process took 2.5 years. And so I reversed engineered it. Here's the point. Networking, if it's done right, it's about building relationships, going deep, making a connection. And from those connections, you get another connection. And from that connection, you get another connection. And you never know who someone knows. And so oftentimes in networking, we see somebody and we go, they don't have anything to offer me. They're not very successful. I'm looking to network up. I'm looking to network with somebody who's more successful than me. And if you want to talk about networking up, I'm happy to talk about that with you a little later too, Jason, networking up. And so you want to network with anyone who's good at what they do. And this referral came to me from a BNI member who was a solopreneur. It wasn't a referral, it was a request. This request came from a BNI member who's a solopreneur and asked for this favor. And that started the process that led me to be on Necker Island. So let me leave this last thing with you on butterfly effect. If you find yourself throughout your lifetime, and I'm sure you will, where you're going, oh yeah, this is my butterfly effect of networking. I'm sitting here in this environment and I'm meeting so-and-so. Afterwards, think about how you got there. And then, and this is so important, and then pick up the phone and call the person who started it. That's what I did. I called Kim, the BNI member, and I said to her, Kim, I want to thank you for introducing me to Richard Branson. And I'll never forget, she was like, hello, Ivan. I don't know Richard Branson. Like, I know, but let me tell you a story. And I told her the story. And I showed gratitude for what was really a request, but that request led to some amazing experiences, including me having an opportunity to see the launch of the White Knight 2 and the mothership for Virgin Galactic. And I've gone to a number of Virgin Galactic events. I've been back to Necker Island twice. What an amazing experience. The butterfly effect of networking. Don't just screen people out because you don't think they're going to have anything to offer you. Go deep, build those relationships, which lead to something, which lead to something, which lead to something. Make sense?
Yes. In terms of networking up, do you mind describing why it's not very effective?
Well, no. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not effective. It can be very, very effective. As a matter of fact, it definitely is very, very effective. The problem is that most people only want to network up. Many people only want to network up. You know, some are willing to do peer-to-peer networking, but most people don't want to do what I would call networking down. And that's probably the wrong word to use, but networking for someone who's below your professional weight class, if you know what I mean. They're networking with someone like Kim George, who I was networking, who I was talking to, who gave me that request. She was a solopreneur. I ran a global business. She was a solopreneur, but I was happy to connect with her. So it's more of that networking up it's not that it's not effective. It can be. What it is you got to network at all levels. Network below you, network peer-to-peer, and network up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So now what are some things to know about networking up? Yeah.
Yes.
So let me give you some, let me talk about some things. I've been blessed. I've had an opportunity to network up and meet incredible people like Warren Bennis, who I've mentioned, Jack Canfield, who's become a really good friend of mine, Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth, of course, John Maxwell, I've had several chances to meet. So many, Brian Tracy's a friend. I've had many opportunities to meet them and develop friendships. But when I first met them, most of them, I was networking up. So along the way, there are a number of lessons that I've learned. And one of them, and I made lots of mistakes, okay? So I give you these lessons because I screwed up so much in my early years trying to network up that I kind of learned what to do and what not to do. And so most of my successes have come through trial and error and screwing up a lot. And so you don't need to make the mistakes that I did. Here are a handful of techniques to keep in mind when you're networking up. First and foremost, you've heard me say this already, don't sell to them. And I always hear people say, yeah, but I may never have an opportunity to meet them again. I got to pitch them. No, refrain yourself. Don't. You know why? Because everybody and their mother is doing that now. Everybody's trying to sell to them. You want to be like everybody else? Pitch to them. And I'm telling you, 99 times out of 100, they're going to say, probably 9,999 times out of 1,000, they're going to say no. And they'll make sure that you're not invited back again. Don't sell to them. Instead, what you want to do is to find out what they're interested in. So this is Monsieur Google. I love Google because if you know you're going to meet somebody someplace, find out what they're working on right now. Even if you don't know and you're at an event and there they are, pull up your mobile device, take a look. What are they doing? What's most interesting to them right now? And then go on up and introduce yourself to them. Now, first thing I would say is you got to embrace the discomfort. And I know I've been uncomfortable saying hello to a number of people, but look, you got to connect. You have to have that first contact. And when you do, two things, besides don't sell to them, don't be a sycophant. Don't puppy dog lick them to death. Oh my God, it's so wonderful to meet you. Don't do that. You can show respect. Hey, I love the material you've done. It's really helped change my life. I appreciate it. So you can do that, but don't puppy dog lick them to death. And then try to either work in and have a conversation within the context of whatever it is that they're talking about at that moment, or through Google, find out what they're interested in. And if you can find out what they're interested in, then ask them about that. So, and here's a great example. I was on Necker Island just a few weeks ago, and it was my third visit, and I was with Richard and with about 24 other people. And one of the things I said was, "Hey, tell me something you're excited about." And he was telling me some things, and I knew one of them because I had done a little research. I said, "Tell me about your circles concept." And so he went to talk about circles beginning with you, and then you and your significant other, and then your family, and how those circles are important until the circle is your city, your state, your country, the world. And he described why those were so important. And I said to him, "How can I help you promote that?" And he said, "Well, you have a blog. You want to do a video blog?" Like, absolutely, let's do it. And so, what a great way. I was able to help promote something for him, and it doesn't do me any harm to have a video on my blog. You can go to, again, ivanmisner.com, just go back a few weeks, you'll see a picture of Richard and I, and that was the interview that we did. And so when you're networking up, add value. Find out what they're interested in and find a way to add value by saying something like, "How can I help you with that? What can I do with you?" And I think that's so powerful. Here's a couple of other techniques, or at least one other technique, and one reminder. If you ever meet him a second time, let's say you didn't make, the first time I met Richard, the second time I met him, I didn't know if he remembered who I was. And so don't assume they remember you. And here's why. These guys meet a lot of people. And if you just say, "Hey," the worst thing to do is to say, "Hi, remember me?" No, don't do that. It's completely out of context. They're going, they're like deer in the headlights. And you just put them on the spot. Don't put them on the spot. Don't say, do you remember me? Instead, say, hey, it's great to meet you again. We met last time at such and such event and loved your presentation, loved whatever that you loved about it. So you give them context. That is so important. And it's happened to me a lot where people, and they get so disappointed. Hey, remember me? I'm sorry. Give me some context. Oh, well, we met originally 7 years ago. You did this event with about 500 people, and you talked about such and such. And I'm like, 7 years ago, 500 people. I do 150 presentations a year. I didn't say this to them, but like, no, I don't remember. So if you're networking up, don't put the person on the spot. Don't assume they remember your name, including, and my wife taught me this one, and it's brilliant. Whenever we reach out to somebody that we're networking up with, whenever I email, if I were to email Richard, I would include a photograph, even though I've met him now a number of times. He knows who I am, but I'd include a photograph. Say, hey, Richard, we met, a couple months ago in Necker. Here's a photo of us, just to give him context so that he knows who he's talking to. That's a really, really good technique whenever you are trying to network up. And one last point, don't sell to them. Instead, find a way to help them. That's the best way to build a relationship. Jack Canfield and I have done a lot of projects together. Brian Tracy and I, Michael Gerber and I. Branson's been on my blog a couple of times. I've never asked them to buy anything. Now, several of those people have helped me. They've offered to help, because if you pour into someone enough, they're going to want to pour back into you. So there's a handful of techniques on networking up that I think might help, Jason.
Thanks so much. Could you also explain the 4 streams of networks?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So the 4 streams of a network, what I'm talking about there is the different kinds of networks that exist. And there are at least 4 types of networks, probably more, but at least 4 types of networks that I would recommend that people consider taking a look at. One is what I call a casual contact network. Now, a casual contact network allows many people from overlapping professions. They get together usually in a mixer environment. They mix and mingle. They're groups like a chamber of commerce. That's one of the streams of a network. And I highly recommend chambers. People are surprised to hear the founder of BNI say, you should join a chamber. But I do, because it's a great way to get exposure in the community. I highly recommend chambers. So casual contact network. Strong contact network is that's another stream. Strong contact network allows one person per profession. They usually get together every week. Their primary purpose is to pass each other referrals. There are groups like BNI. And a strong contact network is a great way to go deep with people. Chambers give you breadth, exposure. Strong contact networks give you depth where you can really get to know people well and build a relationship. Another one would be service clubs, Rotary, Lions, Kiwanis. These are groups of community-oriented people who are there to support the community. Also, I don't know if you're, there we go. Nonprofit organizations are great organizations to be able to participate in, because you meet movers and shakers in those organizations that are good to network with. I mean, some of the most successful people I networked with were on the board of trustees at the university that I was invited to. And by the way, I started long before being on a board for a university. I was on a board for a children's home. And before that, I was a big brother. And so, you work your way up into those big boards, but you find that as you're working your way up, you meet really successful people. And then the last type of network is what I call a knowledge network. The 4th stream is a knowledge network, a network where people get together and share ideas, resources, information. It might be a mastermind group. It might be the kind of webinars that we're doing here where, you get together and you learn from other people. Those are the 4 streams of a network that I think can really help people. Now, let me give you just 1 or 2 other things if we've got time that I think are of value. One is, I mentioned that we don't teach this. You asked the question about why we don't teach this in colleges and university. One of the things that I found interesting was I did a survey years ago that was published in one of my books. And the survey had 12,000 respondents, 12,000. And they weren't just BNI members. They were people from all over the world. One of the questions I asked them was, has networking played a role in your success? Has networking played a role in your success? 91.4% of the respondents, 12,000 people all over the world, 91.4% said yes. So if 91% when have you ever seen 91% of any group of people agree to anything? They just don't. But 91% of business people in the survey of 12,000 global survey said networking's played a role in their success. Then why aren't we teaching this? This is one of the most important ways for people to build their business. And so webinars like this are a great way for you to go deep and learn how to network effectively, because I think it is so incredibly important. I got a couple of other thoughts and techniques if you want some more.
Sure, thanks.
So here's one. I think a lot of people, we talked about networking up, and I kind of touched upon it briefly with you got to network up, you got to network peer-to-peer, you're not going to network down. And let me put it in slightly different terms. Diversity in your networking is powerful. It's very important that you have a diverse kind of network. And by diversity, I mean many types of diversity, not just ethnicity, but age. Age is very important. Have different people in your personal network that are in different age groups, educational background, socioeconomic background, all of these different things. The more diverse your network, the more powerful it's going to be. And here's why. Because this is your network. And if you have somebody in your network of people that is a connector, they're not a lot of, we tend to hang out with people like ourselves, a lot like ourselves. That's human nature. So if you bring somebody in who's not like yourself, networks are by nature clumpy. That's the technical term, clumpy. We hang out with people like ourselves. So if you have someone in your network that's not like you, they become a connector to another network of people. So they connect to another network of people, and who connects to another network. So if you have several people in your network that are connectors to other groups of people, then you have a powerful network, because diversity in your network connects you to people that you wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to meet and connect with. And they have somebody who's in your network that's connected with them, who can say, hey, they're really good at what they do, you can trust them. And that's really powerful in making a strong network. All right, let me give you another one. So in my book, Networking Like a Pro, I talk about a concept called the time confidence curve. The time confidence curve. And the time confidence curve basically says that no matter what business you're in, it's going to take a certain amount of time before people have confidence in your ability to provide a quality product or service. And that time confidence curve is different by profession. So what happens is people network, and they're using networking as a face-to-face cold calling opportunity. They're using it in a transactional way. I'm going to go out and pass cards and make sales, when in fact it needs to be about going deep and building relationships. And depending on the profession, it takes a different amount of time. For example, a florist might have a very short time confidence curve. You can tell whether the florist is good or not pretty quickly, and you can start referring the florist pretty quickly. A printer might be a little longer, a real estate agent longer. An investment advisor investing someone's retirement money is probably one of the longest. And so whatever business you're in, think about where you might fit in the time confidence curve. And the two extremes, you're probably somewhere in between the investment advisor, unless you are one, and the florist, unless you are one. And so give some thought to where you're at, and recognize that it takes time. It takes time to move from invisibility to visibility, from visibility to credibility, from credibility to profitability. And when you understand that, and you understand some of the other techniques that we've talked about today, like open twos and open threes, the VCP process, the 24/7/30, networking up. As you understand all of these things, then you can learn how to build a powerful personal network. I know thousands of people around the world who get the overwhelming majority of their business through networking. And we're recording this during the pandemic. And many people are scared as heck about what they're going to do. But let me tell you something, people with a really powerful network, they're still networking. I know it. I'm seeing it. They're networking. It's not face-to-face. It's digitally face-to-face, video camera maybe, but they're still networking. And so even though business might be down, I'm here to tell you, they will be way more prepared to move forward when we're past this than the average person is. Now, if you've got someone who's listening to this and they're going, yeah, but I haven't built my network yet. I don't know where to start. I'm reminded of the old Chinese proverb, what's the best time to plant an oak tree? And the answer is 25 years ago. And the follow-up question is, when's the next best time? And the answer is today. And so, maybe you should have started building that network before. But if you didn't, so what? Now it's time to start today. Today, to build your own personal networking using some of the ideas and concepts that we've talked about here and apply it consistently over time. And I'm here to tell you that you can achieve amazing success in business by having a powerful personal network. Anything else you'd like me to talk about today, Jason?
I think we have a good length today. So I thank you so much for your time today, Ivan.
My pleasure. Let me leave you with just two other thoughts. One is that networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. It's about cultivating relationships with other business professionals. And the second is similar. You know the old saying, Jason, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You know that expression?
Yes.
I don't think it's either. I don't think it's either one. I don't think it's what you know or who you know. It's how well you know each other that really counts. You can have an amazing database with big names in it, but the real question is, if you had a need, if you needed help, could you pick up the phone, call that person? Would they take your call? And would they be willing to help you? That's the real power of a network. And so it's not just who you know, it's not just what you know or who you know. It's how well you know each other that really makes all the difference in building a powerful personal network. If anyone here is interested in checking out the kind of stuff I do, come to Facebook. I gave you the link. And of course, my blog, ivanmisner.com. And anyone who's interested in BNI, we have, you may not know this, Jason, overnight flipped from face-to-face meetings, in-person meetings to 9,500 online meetings during the pandemic. And so we're still operating, but we're operating online. So go to bni.com if you're interested in starting or continuing to build your own network. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you so much, Ivan. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. I appreciate it. You too.